In this section, you will learn how to use validation to verify user input in your web forms, how to group controls in your web form under chapter headings. Runtime form validation is a win-win situation. The user immediately knows that he or she has made a mistake, and the developer won't have invalid or missing rows in the database. The webforms language offers a pretty straightforward way to validate user input in your forms. To validate a control, nest a validation trait with one or more validator elements inside it. Validators have a required cond attribute. The expression inside the cond property need to evaluate to true for the form to accept the input in the parent control. If the expression evaluates to false, the offending control will get a glaring red border, and the text that you specify in the message attribute will appear next to the control. The validators don't let the user submit the form with errors in any of the validated controls. With these validators in place, you've made sure that the user will have to fill in every form field to be able to submit the new task form. The due date date picker also has a second validation condition that checks whether the date that the user entered is later than the time that the form itself was opened. The form evaluates validation conditions separately and displays all the validation error messages that apply to a control. A bit of tidying up before we move on. There isn't too much clutter in your form, true, but a neat subheading is always welcome to make the user's job of finding what he or she is looking for a bit easier. To insert a subheading into your web form, wrap the controls that you want to group under the header inside a chapter control and specify the heading text in its title attribute. Cut and paste the parts of the form you want to section up inside the relevant chapter control. Save the form, publish it, and access it on the webforms website. You'll see the chapter headings that you added right off the bat, but you'll have to try to submit the form with empty entry fields to see the error messages pop up. Set the delivery due date date picker to any date before the current date to make the form criticize you. When there are errors in a form, you can click on the validation summary link in the top right to display all of them in a handy window. That's basically it for the form. You've got everything just the way you want it. Sweet. Time to make the form actually do something when it's submitted to the cloud. Scoot over to the next section and write a workflow script for new task.